Hello everyone, Jacobite here. Welcome back to West of Loathing with the Reckonin at Gun Manor DLC. So where we last left off, we had just fully finished exploring the entirety of the house. We've dealt with, I think, about 3 or 4 of the ghosts now, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. According to my weird instruments, there are 11 ghosts left on the premises. Looks like we've got 4, 4, and 3. Thanks. Okay. So we're going back to the first floor to check in with everything that we have gotten to see how many of the ghosts we can dispel. You again, thinking you can teach my granny to poach eggs by dadgum? You don't poach eggs by shooting them, I have proof! Oh yeah? Well, read 'em and weep, you weird old coot. What in tarnation? Poach, a method of preparing food, especially eggs, by simmering them in a boiling liquid. Well, I'll be a dadgum. He dissipates into the ether, still muttering to himself. Ha! So there. This little placard on the stove says chili stove. How very specific. Oh boy, I need to do research. You're not even sure what chili even... You need a bowl of chili to give it to the ghost in the dining room, and this stove seems relevant to that need. Unfortunately, ever since your conversation with him, you're not even sure you know what chili is anymore. Maybe you should do some research. Okay. Ooh, tinned caviar. Ooh, nice. Aha, a can of string beans. They must have been the beans. They must have packed the beans in lengthwise. 1.2337 diameter tin can. Perfect. Oh, weird. What you thought was a framed photograph is actually a window. Why does the larder have a window? And why is this ghost standing motionless in front of it as if he were a framed photograph? Excuse me, hello? The ghost ignores you. You grab the ghost, somehow, and shake him until he rattles. Please cease this activity at once! Sorry, I got a little carried away. Now that I have your attention, how about telling me who you are? Ah, you did not recognize me? Jean-Francois L'Adouest? L'Adouest, I think is how you pronounce it. Nope. Zut. I knew simply mimicking the photograph would not be sufficient. Without it, how will anyone know I'm the most famous Frenchman ever to visit Manor? Have a lot of Frenchmen visited? Besides having the distinction of being the most famous Frenchman to visit Gun Manor, I am also the first Frenchman to visit Gun Manor and the last as well. Gosh. How did you die? I was posing for a photograph to commemorate my visit here, and that fool of a photographer fouled up when preparing the gunpowder flash. Fouled up? How? He left a bullet in it. Ah, I see. I must have this photograph. Such a face as mine must not languish in obscurity. Alright, I'll let you know if I find it. So I gotta find a photograph. Larder, lardest. Very funny. This shelf is full of pots and pans, none of which are interesting to you. Wait, there's a larder and a pantry? Oh, well there's another ghost in here. This ghost is running around like crazy, or hovering around like crazy, searching the racks of pants, or trousers if you prefer, but we say pants here in the Western Territories. He seems too preoccupied to take any notice of you. I'm going to disguise yourself as pants. You sneakily conceal yourself amongst the pants and pop out as he approaches. Boo! I'm pants! What? Jeez, buddy, you nearly scared the death out of me. Sorry, I was just wondering what you were doing. Well, I thought it'd be obvious. I'm looking for a pair of pants. But you don't have any legs. Yes, I know. So what do you want pants for? Nostalgia? I see. What kind of pants are you looking for? The kind without legs. Legless pants? Well, I can't wear regular pants, you know. The legs would just flop around and it'd be dumb. I guess you have a point. How'd you lose your legs anyway? Oh, jeez. It's really embarrassing. Well, I don't mind. Well, see, I didn't have a proper holster for my gun, so I was just carrying it tucked into my belt. Ooh, trigger snapped when you went to draw it, huh? Right, but it gets worse though. I was wearing one of those gun belts with the slots all around for you to stick bullets in, you know? Oh man, yeah, the chain reaction blew off the entire lower half of me. Wow, so that's how you died? Yes, that is how I died. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for some legless pants for you. Thanks, I'd really appreciate it. Pants and hey, here's a pants that's your size. Fancy pants your pants. 25% item finding bonus and 20% cold resistance bonus. Compared to my double silk pantaloons, no chance. The item finding bonus is the only good thing about them, but it's not even that good. Should probably try leveling up my character too. I have 3,500 XP. Let's bump our muscle up to 60, because it looks like 50 is the threshold for pretty much everything. Let's bump our moxie up to 110. And then, is there anything more I can do with this? Let's put one up here. Can I get any more liver capacity? I doubt it, but let's get our Hornswogglin. Or Dickerin. Let's get Hornswogglin up, so we can really swoggle them horns. Alright. So there was the ice cabinet back there, which there's still nothing I can really do here. I think I've done everything in here I can do. Boy, there's a lot of things now where it's like, okay, so I gotta go to the library. I gotta find a photograph. Can I make something in the maybe I can make something down here. Oh, that's right, I can make the silencer. There we go. Oh, I bet you I can use this for the ghost upstairs, not to shoot her, but to show her a silenced. That makes sense. That would make sense. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so now I gotta go upstairs. Oops, wrong way. Second floor, please. Let's go to the library. Start with talking to you. Excuse me. Oh, yes, let's go. Oh, yeah, but shh. Shh. Okay. What was your question? Can you help me with? I was wondering how you died. Shh. I was wondering how you died. If it's not too personal a question. I was caught in the crossfire in a library shootout. Wow. What happened? A pair of ruffians got into a heated argument over the comparative merits of Anton Chekhov versus Henrik Ibsen, and when they started shooting, I attempted to step in and stop them. I simply won't abide gunfire in my library. It's far too loud. That's perfect. That's what the silencer can help you with. That's your only objection? The noise? That's quite sufficient. I won't tolerate noise of any stripe, and it's certainly not gunfighter. Well, hey, look, I invented this. Shh! How many times do I have to tell you? I invented this thing that makes guns really quiet. Oh, how marvelous. Finally I can rest in peace knowing that libraries will now be safe from the noise of gunfire. It is only in an atmosphere of quiet that true joy dare live. Bertrand Russell. And with that, she dissipates into nothingness. He isn't famous yet! Oh, well, whatever. Alright, so, chili. Let's start with looking up chili. A savory soup made from beans, spices, and a gun. Huh. What other things can I think of that I needed to look up here? Lardest? Lardest, the first Frenchman ever to visit Gun Manor. Someone wrote that in with a pen. It was him. That is funny. Bean, maybe? A snake near a French barrel. No. What about silencer? A device for making loud objects such as a gun quiet if anyone ever invents one. Well, that would be us. What other words? Maybe silence? No. What would it be? Let's just look up gun. A device for projecting a hard object very forcefully, which makes hunting and self-defense easy and fun. This entry sponsored by Gun Industries. What about pistol? No, not that. What else was I supposed to be looking up? Like, what was it, like dueling banjos? Let's look at dueling. No, I think that's spelled that incorrectly. No, not that. Do I need to go into the spines? Oh, here we go. You have two books you could put back, Fun Law and Dueling Banjos. They go in different shelves, so you can't do them both at once. Well, we'll start with Fun Law. The next book on the shelf is titled Gun Law. That's what I needed! Which might be even more entertaining. Basics of Gun Law. We'll definitely give this a shot. Ha ha ha. You've already learned basically everything there is to know about a gun law. Now you can be the prosecuting attorney and defense counsel in addition to judge, jury, and executioner. You got a perk, gun law. After that, you put the book back on its shelf. Time to dispense some justice. I can silence my pistol. Silented Army issue sidearm. Ooh. Just look at elegance you can really shoot a guy with. So now I need to go back again and put back, you find the shelf where dueling banjos belongs and put it back. The previous book on the shelf is entitled Duel Law, which seems to be about legal issues surrounding dueling. Never know when that might come in handy. Duly noted. This thick legal tone explains all the laws about dueling with things other than banjos. We learn about all the laws pertaining to dueling. It turns out that when two guys want to murder each other in a fair and reasonable manner, things get legally tricky. Duel law, 5 pistol attack damage. Cool. Well, now we are. how is it wrong of me to say we are better armed to discuss things with the prosecutor here? It would seem, or whoever this attorney person is. Objection. What's your problem? Bah, it's legal stuff you'd never understand. In fact, I think you'll find I'm quite conversant in the finer points of our justice system, particularly as it pertains to guns and gun-related activity. Horseradish, you're all trousers and no briefs. Oh yeah? Well, just try me, smart lady. Fine. Obviously, you aren't going to leave me alone, so just ask your questions. I'm White Shooting at Me, speaking for the record. State your name, occupation, and cause of death. Felicity Wainwright, defense attorney, lost a court-approved trial by combat. What? Trial by combat has been outlawed for like 15 years. You do understand that ghosts don't visually age as time passes, right? Oh, right. So your client called for trial by combat, which meant you and the prosecutor had to face off in a duel. That is correct. And you lost. She squints at you. Are you acting dumb to try and throw me off guard? I withdraw the question. Why are you stuck as a ghost? Because although trial by combat was already well out of fashion at the time, it was still a valid legal recourse. I should have been prepared for the possibility, but I wasn't. My lack of training resulted in an innocent man being executed for murder. Oof. How was he executed? Hanging, I assume. Obviously, I wasn't around to see it. So, to release you, I'd need to prove that the loss wasn't your fault? Well, the trial duel was completely fair and above board. There's no chance of there having been foul play on the prosecutor's part. My loss was my own. Then I'd have to prove your client was actually guilty, and therefore your feelings of responsibility are misplaced? The look she gives you is hard and cold. Look, you think you know a thing or two about the law? How about you tell me the first rule of being a defense attorney? Don't accidentally call him Mom? You have to trust and believe in your client. If you don't believe your client is innocent, you'll never convince anyone else he is either. So if I want to convince you he was guilty, you'll have an uphill fight, fella. You are essentially playing prosecutor here. Oof. Alright, tell me about the case. My defendant was Matthew Guilty McCready, accused of the murder of Victor Vic Timsbury at noon on June 18, 1878 in Reno. I have some questions. Go ahead. Your client was actually named Guilty? Come on. Names don't mean anything. I once had a client named Ike Ildeguy, and he was totally innocent. For someone's actual legal name, sure, but nicknames are usually given with some sort of basis. You've never met a really tall guy called Tiny, or a fat guy called Slim? Arguably the nickname Guilty would reinforce my client's innocence. Well, that's totally absurd, but I'll let it rest for now. Let me ask something else. Go ahead. What was the cause of death? Timsbury was shot through the heart with a .45 caliber revolver. And did McCready own such a gun? Yes, and he was holding it at the time, and subsequent examinations showed that it had been recently fired. Are you messing with me? Any further questions? Yes, I do have some more questions, yeah? Go ahead. This was at noon precisely? Yes, that was confirmed by witnesses. Also, McCready owned a fancy pocket watch that chimed on the hours. There were witnesses, about half a dozen of them. I'm pretty sure there's something you aren't telling me. I'm not obligated to play my hand face up, Mr. Prosecutor. Okay then, go ahead. Hang on a second. Shot with pistol in front of witnesses at exactly noon. Was this a duel? So, you can add 2 + 2 after all. Well done. Well, as luck would have it, I've just recently read a whole book about duel law. What? Why? No reason. I just happened across it in the library and thought it might be interesting. You read an entire code of law you found at random just for the heck of it? Sure did. Yes, indeed. Let me just do a quick review. A duel is legal provided it's between exactly 2 people at a specific prearranged time and place using the same or at least essentially similar weapons, and they have to either face each other down and quick draw at the appointed moment or do the 10 paces turn and fire routine. Is that right? That's the gist of it, yes. So I guess let's start with you telling me the facts of the case, and I'll interrupt you rudely if I have any questions. Alright, but if you push me on trivial nonsense, I'll get mad and you'll have to start over. That seems fair, go ahead. McCready and Timsbury got into an argument in the saloon on the evening of June 17th. Apparently Timsbury accused McCready of cheating at poker. Go on. The bartender yelled at them to take it outside, but since it was dark out, they agreed to meet for a duel the next day. And that would be the 18th, you said? Yes, June 18th, 1878. I have a question? What? Why didn't they just fight right then? Because it was dark? You can't have a gunfight in the dark. No, I get that, but they could have just had a regular old fist fight. They were mad enough to shoot each other to death, but not to punch each other? Well, without getting too psychoanalytical, these guys were gunfighters. I mean, they counted that as a significant part of their identity. Fighting without guns was just not outside their wheelhouse. They considered it a waste of their time and talents, like asking a fancy French chef to make you a grilled cheese sandwich. Ah, well, what happened next? Well, the next day they both showed up shortly before noon and squared off about 30 feet from each other. When noon struck, McCready fired, fast enough that Timsbury didn't get his shot off on account of having his head shot off. That's pretty much the long and short of it. I'm going to have to ask for some more details on that. Go ahead. What weapons were they using? McCready had a .45 caliber single-action Army revolver. Timsbury had an older model .36 caliber cap and ball Navy revolver, which he loaded with paper cartridges instead of packing the gunpowder by hand. No, those are not significantly different weapons, Wyatt. Let me ask you something else. That's a .45 and a .36. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that is not a massive difference. Now, if we're talking about a 9mm versus like a 22, or like a... what else we would have, that's a major difference in caliber. Anything in a 22 is usually a big difference, but like a 45 and a 36, I don't think that's a big enough difference to really call her on that. And I don't want to get her mad. You said there were witnesses. About half a dozen of them were watching from across the street or peeking through half-open shutters. Were they interviewed? Yes, and the stories lined up with what I just told you. Were any of them known associates of McCready? I'm not aware of any of them being actual friends with McCready, but he was a local and a lot of people knew him. She gives you a suspicious look. Wait a minute, just where are you going with... objection? What would that possibly have to do... He was a local and a lot of people knew him, but that didn't mean anything. I mean, it could mean something, but it could mean nothing, too. Oh, never mind. I have another question. He fired exactly at noon? Yes, as soon as the church bells started ringing. You also mentioned McCready's pocket watch. Yes, he had a fancy pocket watch that chimed on the hour. Is that important for some reason? Well, no, maybe, but... dang it, no, I had a thought. Let's go back. Go on. Okay, this is the part I need more details. He fired exactly at noon. So McCready fired as soon as the church bells struck noon? Yes, that is what I just said. Have you got a point to make, or are you just stalling for time to think? I might need to think about this for a little bit. So what do we know here? We know that he fired at noon. I'm going to have to start making some wild guesses, I think, because I don't have anything else to go off of at the moment. Let's ask some questions here. What was the name of the saloon? I don't think that matters. What day of the week was this? I don't think that matters. Tell me more about the argument. Sure. There isn't much to tell. The other players in the game had already folded their hands in that round, so they weren't paying very close attention. All we know is that Timsbury suddenly accused McCready of being a dirty, cheating varmint, and McCready said Timsbury was just sore because he'd been losing all night. Did McCready have a history of cheating? He'd been accused of it once or twice before, but Reno's gambling town, so when he hung out in the rough part of it, getting accused of cheating by a sore loser when you're on a lucky streak is par for the course. But if McCready had a history of cheating, it would be irrelevant, because the reason for the duel is immaterial to the legality of the duel itself. Motive isn't an issue here. Motive is an issue for murder, but not for a duel, I suppose. Remember how I warned you about ticking me off with stupid digressions? This isn't an excellent example. Okay, fine, what happened next? So on the 18th... Did they set a specific time for the duel? Yes, high noon. Figures. Why is it always high noon? Tradition, I suppose, and since the sun is at its highest in the sky, everything's brightly lit and there aren't many shadows, so that's good for gunfighting. Makes sense. Plus, you can go have your duel on your lunch break. Let me ask something else. Wait a minute. Hold that thought, I'll be right back. High noon. Is that the same as noon? Or is that a different time? Noon. No, how about high noon? High noon. Someone who trains trees for fishing. No, there's nothing in there. Bummer. Is high noon... That's such a specific... Because again, think about this. If the sun isn't always going to be in the sky at 12 o'clock every single day because of, seasons. So if it was scheduled for high noon, go on. I'm gonna have to ask for some more details. He fired exactly at noon. McCready fired as soon as the church bell struck. I have an objection! Objection! Gah, what the heck? McCready fired at the wrong time! What are you talking about? He fired exactly at noon with the church bells. There are witnesses. That's right! He fired at clock noon, but the duel was set for high noon. They aren't the same thing! I knew it! High noon is just when the sun is at its highest point in the sky, depending on geography and the time of year. That's exactly what I said! It can be hours different from clock noon. McCready fired early, and that makes the duel illegal. So, what do you say to that, counselor? Felicity gives you a slow smile. Gotta hand it to you, prosecutor shooting at me. You're a lot better at this than I was giving you credit for. That's a good thought you had there. There's just one problem with it. Oh, what's that? I already thought it! Take that! She hurls a small book at you just barely managed to catch. Ugh! 1878 Nautical Almanac. What the heck is this? I did my homework when I was preparing for that trial. My legal homework, since at that time I expect there to be an actual trial, not a gunfight. What you're holding there is a nautical almanac for the year 1878. There are bookmarks if you'd like to do the math yourself, but if you look up solar noon, aka high noon, for June the 18th and make the adjustment for Reno's longitude, what do you think you get? You have got to be kidding me. That's right, Mr. Prosecutor. 12 o'clock p.m. precisely. No! Well, damn. Nice try, though. I mean that sincerely. Well, that's all my ammo. I can't think of any other way to disprove McCready's innocence. As far as I can see, it was a fair duel. Yep. And that's me with the guilt of an innocent man's death on my hands. An innocent man's death. You sure are good at repeating things people say. Well, what if he didn't die? Say what now? Well, you didn't actually see the execution, right? Yes, well, I was indisposed, you might say, being dead and all. So you don't actually know whether or not it happened. Oh, come on, look, I appreciate the effort, but you're barking at the moon. Well, let me ask you something. What can you tell me about McCready? He was a gunfighter through and through. And by that, I mean he was an adrenaline addict, and dueling was his needle of choice. Hell, if you told me you had evidence that he cheated at poker with the specific intent of baiting people into challenging him to duels, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. He was a sly one. Her expression softens and she sighs. I make him sound like a real devil. That's not fair. He was smart and charming and could have been a good man if he'd chosen an entirely different life for himself. Anything else? Well, I recall he had a real good head for numbers. He told me that he never forgot a date, and every man he had ever killed, he'd remember to pour a beer on their grave on their birthday. Well, that's nice. A nice birthday present would have been not having killed them in the first place, of course. Yup. Alright, why did he invoke trial by combat? Assuming he was innocent, why would McCready invoke trial by combat? His case was pretty straightforward. A duel only worsened his odds. I was mighty surprised, let me tell you. The only thing I can figure is it was his damn fool sense of gunfighter's pride or something. Like that was the only form of justice he was willing to submit himself to. Another question. Was the trial right after the duel the 19th? No. I don't know what Reno's like now, but it didn't have a proper courthouse then, and you can't try a murder charge in the sheriff's front parlor. McCready sat in jail for a couple of weeks, and then they transported him to Frisco. With one thing and another, the trial didn't start until July 25th. Geez, so much for the right to a speedy trial. The wheels grind slow. When was the execution? Well, we held the trial by combat on the 26th, and that was a Friday. They don't execute prisoners on the weekend, so presumably it would have been the following Monday, the 29th. In the morning? What was setting up the gallows and letting a crowd gather? They usually happen in the afternoon. Around 3, typically. I'm going to do some research. Let's look in that book. Let's look in the book. 1878 Almanac. This book is almost entirely tables and numbers who label things. You could look up a first date. Okay, so we're looking up in July. Pick a day. Was it the 19th? Oh. July. What was it, 26th? Was that the day? That was the day Felicity Waymouth was killed in trial by combat. Sad, but there doesn't seem to be anything astronomically significant about it. Okay, so he wouldn't have been executed then until, what was it, the 29th? Is that what they said? That was when McCready was going to be executed. Let's see. Wow, wait a minute. According to this, there was a total eclipse of the sun that day, centered right over the Western Territories, and with its totality at 2:47 p.m. That's a hell of a thing. Okay. Hey, I've got a question for you. I looked up July 29th in your almanac, and get this, there was a total eclipse of the sun that day. What? Now you're just messing with me. No, look for yourself. Totality at 2:47 p.m. right over the Western Territories. Well, that's quite a thing, but I don't see how that affects... Wait, unless you're suggesting... Right, it was the perfect opportunity for McCready to escape. That's absurd. Absurd like a fox. You said yourself that McCready was really good at remembering dates. He could have read about the eclipse at any time and stored that knowledge away for future use, like to give himself an advantage in a duel or something. Alright, that's reasonable as far as it goes, but McCready couldn't have worked the eclipse into an escape plan because he didn't have any say over the court schedule. You said, what with one thing and another, the trial didn't start until July 25th. McCready could have caused any number of those delays himself, by faking illness in prison, or messing with the horses on the ride to Frisco, or anything. This could also explain the trial by combat. You mean there ended up being too much delay, so if a regular trial went on too long and he was found guilty, he'd have missed the eclipse? Exactly. Whereas if he called for trial by combat, everything would be resolved one way or the other in only one more day. Maybe you'd win and that'd be fine, but if you lost, you could use his escape plan. I have to admit, this is pretty compelling, but it's all maybes and what ifs. Yeah, maybe it happened, but maybe McCready was rescued by leprechauns. Oh man, are there leprechauns in Frisco? You need some kind of hard evidence before this is any more than just a fun story, is what I mean. How can I find evidence of McCready's escape? Well, we don't even know that an escape even happened. True. Something like that would have been in the news for certain. Okay, I'll see what I can find. In the news? But there's not like there's newspapers. I mean, but there are newspapers. Wait a second. There are newspapers. I just remembered. Go back. Oh my gosh. There are newspapers. Do you know where there are newspapers? There's newspapers at the postal way station. Do you remember how there's like these stacks of newspapers? Please let this be something. Nothing else interesting. Nothing else interesting. Bummer. I thought I was being so smart. This is where they should be. Oh man. Oh man, Gary. What do you think we should do next? No. Well, where am I gonna find news if it's not from a post office? I mean, I guess I could try the other one in Dirtwater, but that's not the same. Wonder if they have anything. I'll send a postcard. You've already sent a postcard today. Ain't you heard of the Postcard Limitation Act of 1893? What? No, what's that? Okay, so the government put a restriction on prepaid postcards of one per citizen per day. Now, why do you think that might be? Well, to reduce strain on the postal system? Nope! That's what everyone guesses, but that ain't a thing. The wagons still make the trip no matter how many postcards are on the board. Listen, we're talking so many postcards you need a second wagon, but that ain't likely. So, to restrict the free flow of information, to keep the people from being able to say too much through the mail so the left end of the territory don't know what the right end is doing and vice versa. That way they can implement a different rule of law in each area, whatever's most effective to keep them particular folks down. But people can still send letters. Pfft, letters. Who's got time to write a whole letter in this day and age? But I ain't even got to the real big part yet. What's the first 2 letters in conspiracy, huh? C-O... Oh, geez, that's right. They're in league with the cows. It's all a plot to keep us docile so they can deliver us up to those hell cows they summoned. You think the government deliberately summoned the cows? There's proof. The plan was referred to an in-writer attached to a Senate Farm Aid bill that was passed 11 years ago. And when did the cows come home? That's right, 11 years. There's no way a Senate bill says, let's summon cows from hell on it. No, not in such obvious words. Are you cracked? It's all in code and dog whistles like, go look it up for yourself. Do your own research. That's what this means. Okay, even if I wanted to do that, the capital city isn't even in this territory. It's hundreds of miles away. Uh-huh. And you think that's a coincidence? A CO incidence? Okay, well, that's very interesting. Bye now. That was not the kind of conversation I wanted to have. What do I do? Wyatt. Hey, Lloyd. Who's that old man by the piano? Oh, that's old Aylesbury. Tragic fella he is. He was a writer and a poet, came out west to sell his stories, but nobody were buying. Too weird his stories. Fantastical lies. Too bad. I love that stuff. Well, it don't matter much now anyhow. He had to get normal work to make ends meet. Did passing well for his prospector until one day he lost his mind in a mind. He lost his mind in a mind? He what now? You know what I mean. He saw something. Something that made him stop telling his weird tales. Made him stop talking near completely to come to that. He just stands there by the piano nowadays. It seems to calm him down, and as long as he doesn't make any trouble, I don't mind him too much. Feel a little sorry for him, to be honest. Poor fella. Alright, well, what am I supposed to do now? Unless he knows something. Poor old Aylesbury. I do have his helmet. His eyes light up. Well, one of them does. The other's kind of struck in a perpetual squint. Does this belong to you? He takes the helmet from you. It takes him a moment to find his voice. It does. Long time ago. I don't suppose there was anything else where you found that? You mean this? Yeah, that's the stuff. Could I? Yeah, here you go. He cracks the bottle open and drinks deeply. After a few moments, his demeanor changes entirely. He looks like a man 20 years younger. Would you like to hear a story? Yes? Aylesbury tells you a tale of a writer who gets kidnapped and taken to an otherworldly city inhabited by giant scholars. Something about the story, you really lost yourself in it. Well, thank you, Aylesbury, but that's not the story I wanted to know. Well, where am I supposed to get newspapers then? Man, I'm so disappointed. Like, of all of the times, where else am I supposed to get, like, news, except from stacks of newspapers? He makes a sort of glurk noise. Alright, what am I supposed to do now? Wait, wasn't there like a machine in here? No, it was just the boo. What am I supposed to do? Back to the second floor, please. Francis. Inscrutable mechanics. Are you looking for inscrutable mechanics? I can look there, I suppose. You find a bundle of old newspapers. Oh! Well, here's where we find the newspapers. At the bottom of one shelf, the Frisco Newsinator. You start at the bottom of the stack and flip through them until you find the paper for the week of July 28th and August 3rd, 1878. The main feature has to do with the eclipse and various accidents and spectacles that occurred because most people weren't expecting it. The editor apologized for burying the announcement in the previous week's weather forecast. Most notably, all 3 men scheduled to be hanged on the 29th escaped in the confusion, and only 2 of them were recaptured. Unfortunately, their names aren't given. Keep looking. You don't find anything else relevant to the case. However, as you're putting the papers back in order on the shelf, a headline on a more recent issue catches your eye. Husband of famous inventor missing. The article is light on information, but apparently Mrs. Gunn's husband Dan vanished on the road while traveling to Dirtwater on business about 6 years ago. Law enforcement suspected bandits, but no evidence was found. That's kind of grim. Ooh. So we got some lore stories here then. Just trying to think of words. The most delicious part of a pig is the lard. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so now we know that we do have some stuff to work with here. Hey, I got a question for you. I found a newspaper article. The guy scheduled to be executed the day of the eclipse escaped, and one of them was never caught. Which one? Well, didn't say, did it? Nope. Damn it. And executed criminals aren't given gravestones with their names on them, so you can't just go looking around Frisco Cemetery to find out. Listen, Wyatt, I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but at this point you would have to actually find McCready himself to prove he wasn't executed due to my failure. Well, I guess that's what I'll do then. How I'm gonna do that, I have no idea. Oh, man. Well, that's a bit of a humdinger, and I hate to end it on a cliffhanger, but that is where we're going to end it for this episode, as I have to try to think now, where in the world, how would I find evidence of McCready? Gary, do you have any ideas? Nah. How am I supposed to find him? Have I met anybody with that name of McCready? I guess I could go around. If there's anyone who would know if people have passed through here, it would be those. What would it be? The mailman? Would it be the barman? I don't know. I'll have to think on that, but we'll come on to that next episode. We'll figure out and try to finalize this era, because I'm on the cusp of it, but we're missing something critical, I think. So tune in for next time as we will finish off this saga with McCready. And if you guys know of anything or remember anything that I've done in the past, I'll look in my own videos to see if I missed something. Let me know as we try to solve this humdinger of a murder case and the duel and a trial by combat, and helping this the attorney who is defending this individual get past the guilt of letting him die if he did die, because maybe he didn't. So, until then, I've been the Jacobite, and I will see you guys further down the line. See ya next time. Bye-bye.